Recommended succulents for beginners. Whether bago ka pa lang sa hobby na to or you've been trying to grow succulents for quite some time but you are still looking for recommendations ng mga napakadaling buhayin yet magagandang succulents, this is the perfect vlog for you.
Here I am where the movie started, facing at a photo they've taken, space tree flying through the skies and petals.
What's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. It's me again, Andrew. You've seen a lot of pictures online. Nakita mo yung ibang mga friends mo na they seem to have green thumb. Bakit ang ganda-ganda ng mga succulents nila? But for some reason, you struggle ka pa rin na buhayin yung sarili mong succulents. I know that there are a lot of factors that could come into play like yung type of plants, the sellers, and of course your watering and your potting mix, pots, etc. Today, gusto ko mag-share sa inyo ng 6 recommended succulents that I know can actually work wherever you are, even if you're from the highlands or the lowlands, kahit na bago ka pa lang o medyo may experience ka na sa pag-aalaga ng succulents. Ano ba yung mga recommended na succulents na perfect for beginners like me, na alam ko na madali siyang buhayin at hindi siya ganong kaselan? But before we start, I would just like to give you some disclaimers na there is no scientific explanation po sa aking mga recommendations. These are all based from my personal experience. I'm going to explain the reasons why I think they are so easy to care for. So, gusto ko rin po linawin na I'm recommending 6 plants pero it doesn't mean that these are the only plants that are very easy to care for. In fact, I would like to hear from you in sharing your own experiences kasi I'm sure there will be a lot of plants na hindi ko po mako-cover sa vlog na to. Probably dahil hindi ko pa siya natatry alagaan kaya hindi ko siya mai-recommend pa or hindi siya nag-work sa akin even though other people found it easy to care for these plants. And that is my quick disclaimer po sa inyo. By the way, gusto ko rin pong sabihin sa inyo na in this vlog, skip ko lang po yung ibang plants like si rose cabbage because I don't really recommend it for beginners, at si black prince kasi whether you're a beginner or not, I'm sure you will all agree that it's one of the easiest succulents to care for, kaya i-skip ko na po siya. So, I'll be recommending to you some other plants na na-encounter ko personally, na sa tingin ko kahit bago ka pa lang, kayang-kaya mo siyang buhayin. The first succulent I would recommend to you is none other than si ghost plant. So, ito pong si ghost plant, one of the easiest to care for, and why I'm recommending this because hindi siya ganong kaarte when it comes to your potting mix, watering schedule, and sun exposure. The way that you care for this is just like with any other regular succulent na you air dry it for 3 to 5 days or even 7 days and then you plant it. Tapos, you just use a well-draining potting mix and napakadali niyang buhayin. Ang may i-recommend ko na gawin sa kanyang style is to put them in a community pot like this instead of putting them on single pots like this. Although that could actually work, pero mas maa-appreciate mo yung beauty niya. Why? Kasi una makikita mo naman na mas madali siyang mag-propagate by itself. Yes. Kaya ako po siya nire-recommend for beginners is the fact that it's very easy to care for at napakadali po niyang padamihin. If you put them in a large pot, gaya po nito, nung una dalawang stalk or dalawang stem lang po yung nilagay ko, but now they have already self-propagated. Now what I do is that I use cutting, so kinakat ko po siya, and then I pot them separately. But what I did here is pagka-cut ko po sa kanila, tinanim ko lang din po, and that's why you could see 3 other heads. The other thing na gusto ko rin sa mga ghost plant is that they are very beautiful, napaka-elegant yung tignan, makapal yung farina niya, so mapagkakamalan mo siyang Korean succulent, especially kapag nabuhay mo siya. So just like this one, ito yung pinaka-main ko na plant. This is with me for like 2 to 3 months pa lang, pero ang bilis-bilis niyang dumami. In fact, hindi ko na nga siya kailangan i-propagate because they propagate by themselves. So ito po yung ibang part niya, where you could see some babies na nanggaling lang din dun sa mga dahon na nalaglag ng kusa. So that's why I could say it's very easy to care for. So this is the first plant, ghost plant po. If you don't have this yet in your collection, make sure to give it a try. Second succulent na i-recommend ko for beginners to give your garden an upgrade would be none other than si Joselins Joy. Now, this is something that you might not be very familiar with if you're just starting, pero kaya ko po siya nire-recommend because if you're just starting and you would like to upgrade before you start growing imported succulents, you might want to transition po gamit itong si Joselins Joy. Now, sa dami ng halaman, why am I recommending this? In my personal experience po, kahit na yung potting mix mo medyo hindi ganon ka special or kahit hindi ganun ka gritty, It's very forgiving, tapos madali siyang magkaroon ng new growth. So kapag bago ka pa lang, lalakas yung loob mo because they are able to show you new growth agad-agad kahit na hindi pa ganun ka-establish yung roots. And it's also a good addition to your garden because it kind of looks like a Korean succulent. So if you would like to have some practice with Korean succulents, you might want to add this in your collection. Ito, hindi ako nagkaroon ng problema dito. It's very easy to care for. Sun exposure niya, typical succulent lang, 6 to 8 a.m. in the first 2 weeks, and then siguro after 1 month, pwede na siya mag 6 to 10, pero hindi kasi siya ganun ka-sensitive. Hindi rin siya ganun kadaling malagasan. So, if you're a beginner, please go ahead and look for this. It's Pachiveria Joselins Joy. Third succulent that I will be recommending to you at isa sa pinaka-common at I'm sure you might have encountered this already whether you are aware of it or not. It's none other than si Sedum Adolfi. Isa to sa pinaka-recommended. So if you look at all the other succulents for beginners videos, whether here in the Philippines or abroad, isa to sa pinaka-recommended kasi sobrang dali niyang alagaan. Now, ang gusto ko kasi kay Sedum Adolfi is the fact that if you put them on a community pot like this, madali din siya mag-self-propagate katulad ni ghost plant. So halos pareho lang sila ng pag-aalaga. Number 2 is that medyo mas forgiving siya when it comes to watering kasi ang tendency natin if we are a newbie is that we tend to overwater. Minsan naman kapag sobrang takot natin as a newbie, we tend to underwater. And I would say based on my experience, itong si Sedum Adolfi, isa sa pinakamadaling mag-survive. We call it hardy type of plants kasi medyo forgiving siya when it comes to those kind of variation. So medyo sumobra ka ng dilig, medyo hindi kanya basta-basta iiwan. Now, ang gusto ko rin sa kanya is napakadali niyang paramihin. So, kung titignan niyo po mabuti, marami tayong mga propagations dun sa ilalim. Yun po yung galing sa mga dahon niya na nalaglag lang. And kapag po mature na yung stem nila, katulad nito, kusa na lang siya magpo-produce ng sarili niya mga pups or babies. This has been with me for about 3 months pa lang. Pero kung mapapansin nyo po, ang kapal-kapal na niya, nag-start lang po to ng 2 heads, 2 stem lang siya, and then nagsanga-sanga na po. And kung titignan nyo, it's a very good addition to your garden kasi it looks very, very elegant, napakaganda niya tignan, lalo na po kapag kumakapal na siya na ganito. So, mas ma-enjoy mo na to lalo kapag mga after 3 months na. So, I suggest you also put them in a community pot. And when it comes to propagation po, isa rin to sa pinakamadaling paramihin. Bukod po sa leaf propagation, madali din siyang paramihin through pugot. So, papakita ko lang po sa inyo na dati meron akong isang pot ng Sedum Adolfi and then pinutol ko siya. And then, ito po yung pinagputulan. Tinanim ko po siya as a single plant. So, nakita nyo naman na kumakapal na siya. So, ito po, dati silang iisang plant. And then, ito pong pinagputulan ko, nagtira lang ako ng 2 dahon sa ilalim para mas madali din siya maka-absorb ng light and it can still produce its own food. And you could see that in less than 2 months, nagkaroon na tayo ng baby na Sedum Adolfi. So, isa to sa mga magandang pagpraktisan sa pagpugot ng mga halaman kasi madali din siyang dumami at hindi siya ganong kasensitive sa pagpuputol or propagations through pugot. So, that's the third plant I would recommend to you. That's Sedum Adolfi. Fourth plant that I would recommend for beginners would be none other than si Shooting Star. No, ito si Shooting Star, kapag nag-visit ka sa mga local garden centers, hindi ito mawawala. Kasi not only that it's one of the cheapest, but it's also one of the most common. Now, why is this recommended for beginners? Bukod sa very forgiving siya when it comes to error sa sunlight, sa watering, and potting mix, napakaganda rin niyang tignan, lalo na kapag naging stable na siya like this one, makikita mo yung new growth niya would produce a farina na parang medyo icy or tinatawag nila na icy look. Tapos maganda siyang addition sa garden mo. This one, nagkaroon na siya ng sarili niyang pop dito sa gilid at obviously you could see na madali siyang alagaan, madali siyang paramihin, and hindi siya madaling mabulok. So as long as you don't give it extreme conditions na sobrang ibibilad mo siya sa noon sun, pauulan na mo siya agad-agad, then you are guaranteed to let this survive. Kasi na-experience ko dati, isa to sa mga survivors na mga halaman ko noon, nung hindi pa ako masyado marunong magtimpla ng potting mix, kung ano-anong lupa lang ginamit ko. Would you believe na nabuhay to sa loam soil? So if it can survive in that harsh condition, then sigurado ako makakabuhay ka rin ito. So that's the fourth plant I would recommend. That is si Shooting Star. The fifth plant I would recommend to you is ito si Morning Beauty. Pero sa ibang lugar, ang common name niya, they call it the Blue Rose. Ang pinaka-accurate niya na common name is si Morning Beauty. Now, Why is this recommended? Kasi in my experience, every time I would buy a batch, kahit na dati na sobrang bago pa lang ako nag-aalaga, pag may mali ako, isa siya sa pinaka natitira. And it's very forgiving when it comes to overwatering. It's also very forgiving kapag nagkamali ka ng potting mix. Kahit po hindi pa clay pot yung gamit mo, whether it's plastic pot, nabubuhay po siya. Now, I recommend this for beginners because isa din sa mga mali natin pagbago tayo is that we tend to expose them sa araw. Ang napansin ko dati, sa mali kong yun, siya yung isa sa mga nabubuhay. Because sa lahat ng nire-recommend ko for beginners, siya lang yung may konting kakaiba. I would say sa batch na to, parang siya yung medyo may pinaka-maarte ng konti. Because kapag kinulang siya ng araw, ang tendency niya is produce new growth at siya rin yung medyo madaling mag-etellulate. Pero I still recommend this for beginners kasi kung ang madalas mong pagkakamali is ay na-overexpose mo sila sa araw, then mabubuhay at mabubuhay mo itong si Morning Beauty. Isa rin to sa pinakamaganda because of the thick farina na meron siya. At napakamura lang din niya. You can buy this for less than 100 pesos. In fact, you can now buy this for about 30 to 40 pesos sa mga garden centers. Ngayon na nagmumura na rin sila. If you're just starting, make sure that you have this in your collection. That is si Morning Beauty. Minsan lang po kapag hindi nila siya kilala as Morning Beauty, tinatawag po nila siyang si Blue Rose. Pero alam naman po natin na ang Blue Rose talaga ay si rose cabbage or si imbricata. So just to clarify the names kasi po baka malito, pag naghanap kayo ng Morning Beauty hindi nila alam and they tell you that it's Blue Rose. Nonetheless, I would recommend this to you if you are just starting your succulent collection. When it comes to propagation din, isa rin siya sa pinaka-paborito ko kasi gusto ko ipakita sa inyo itong isang pinugot ko na pinanggalingan na itong si Morning Beauty. Ayan, dito siya galing. Tapos yung pinagputulan, tumubo na siya ng panibago niyang plant. Kahit po na 2 dahon lang yung natira, you could see na may potential siyang magkaroon ng 3 heads. So I'm so excited to see how this one will look like kapag nag-mature na. That's probably gonna be many months from now, but nonetheless, gusto ko makita nyo na madali siyang pugutin at madali din siyang paramihin. Last but not the least is the 6th plant na i-recommend ko po sa inyo. If you would like to get started with succulents, if you would like to give your garden an upgrade, it's none other than si Echeveria Snow Bunny. Now, this might not be a very common succulent and you might not see this all the time, pero this is locally propagated. Madali mo to makita sa mga garden centers. In fact, if you know some people who are selling online, just ask for the Snow Bunny and you would easily see this. So, hindi mo lang siya siguro madalas napapansin, pero isa to sa pinaka-common din na pwede mo mabili here in the Philippines. Why is this recommended sa dinami-dami ng pwede ko i-recommend? Based on my personal experience po, meron na siguro mga 3 to 4 snow bunnies na na-encounter sa garden ko. And none of them ang namatay, considering na bago-bago pa lang po ako. Now, what I like about the snow bunny, kaya ko siya nire-recommend na magkaroon sa garden mo, is the fact na when you are just new and you're just experimenting with your watering schedule, with your watering technique, even with your sunlight exposure, isa po siya sa mga hindi ganun ka-sensitive. In fact, madali siyang tubuan ng new growth, and if you could see the farina, napakakapal po ng farina niya. For, it kind of looks like a Korean succulent already. So, kung hindi mo nga sasabihin na this is local, anyone would think that this was actually bought overseas. So, I recommend this to you po sa Snow Bunny kasi never ako sumakit ng ulo dito. Napakadali din niyang buhayin. Hindi rin siya ganun kadaling maubusan ng dahon sa ilalim, lalo na kapag nag-a-adjust pa siya. This is the 6th plant I'm recommending to be added on your garden. That's Echeveria Snow Bunny. Yun po yung mga plants na nire-recommend ko sa inyo. And again, just like what I've said earlier, there's a possibility na meron kang alam na mas maganda dyan, na mas mura, mas madaling buhayin. And that's okay. I would like to hear from you. Please feel free to share your recommendations. I'm sure those people who are watching would love to see your comments. Kung ano pa sa tingin mo, yung pwede nilang i-add sa collection. So, pag nabasa ko yan, pwede ko rin siyang aralin or pwede ko rin siyang isama sa ating second batch na mga recommended succulents for beginners. Again, these are the ones that I have encountered personally. Meron dyan siguro na hindi pa ako familiar, and I'm looking forward to encounter these plants soon. Ito po mga nire-recommend ko doesn't mean na they are foolproof na kapag inalagaan mo siya guaranteed na mabubuhay. All I'm saying here is that in my personal experience, sila po yung medyo forgiving kapag nagkakamali ako sa pagdilig, medyo nasobrahan ako sa araw, or minsan naman naulanan sila. Sila yung parang hindi ako basta-basta iniiwan. At ilang beses ko na siya na-try. So, yung mga nirecommend ko po sa inyo, I have at least 2 to 3 types of them. And so far, very consistent po yung mga results. And the reason why I'm recommending to you because they are very beautiful addition to your garden. Napakagandang tignan. Whether they are bought locally or you bought them online, please do go ahead and give it a try. If you have some questions po kung paano po sila alagaan, feel free to visit our other videos here in the channel like the watering schedule, having your own potting mix, paano ba tamang sun exposure. So marami po kayong mga videos na pwedeng ma-enjoy dito sa channel natin. But if you have some questions or confusions or if you have some recommendations kung ano po yung topics na gusto niyo pag-usapan, feel free to comment or you can also send me a message. And that's all I want to share to you po. I hope you are all doing okay. Thank you so much for watching. And again, see you next time. Bye for now.